Well, I am so delighted to be with you here today to share about how ritual and ceremony provided me with sustenance on my journey with breast cancer, and hopefully to inspire you all, dear celebrants, to help yourself and others journey with cancer or illness. And there is in the back a resource paper that if you all want to pick up to use. So, 2009 was quite the year for me. It included, in a span of 5 months, the death of my second parent, a job layoff, the physical changes of menopause, and a diagnosis of cancer. I kept thinking of that dark joke. So, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Today's presentation focuses on my cancer journey. For me, choosing to engage with cancer as part of my... wait a second. There we go. So choosing to engage with the cancer as part of a greater spiritual journey was very important to me. And much of what I share will reflect that. And I needed to see my cancer in the largest view possible. And while I was proactive in seeking a cure, I believe that healing, coming to a place of peace, can happen even when a cure does not. So, through intention and creating sacred space, alone or with others, actions were transformed into sacred acts of sustenance. Some may not have met a very strict definition of ritual or ceremony, yet without a doubt, they were acts that sustained me and sometimes others in a profound and deep way. So it was early in my journey with cancer that I began to use rituals, practices of meaning, to support me. I created healing acts for myself to do privately, to do with family, friends, and community, and even a few to do with some of my healthcare practitioners. As celebrants, we can help create acts of sustenance, and we can help people whether or not we need to be physically present when they are enacted. So that's, I think, something important to keep in mind. Creating and doing practices of sustenance definitely help me to calm my fears, connect with myself, others, and the divine, and even with my cancer. Except when they didn't. For, understandably, there were times when fear ruled. And I found cancer to be so efficient in bringing up nearly all my fears at once. So, I often called upon my warrior archetype, especially in times when I refused to be rushed into any form of treatment. And another thing that helped me release the tight clutch of fear that I could feel was when I could feel and say aloud, "It is what it is." Perhaps this was my newly menopausal wise woman speaking. So I drew upon several private rituals and practices that were already part of my life, adapting them to sustain me throughout my cancer journey. I meditated, listened to music and chants, practiced visualization, and took mindful walks, often in nature. I would dialogue with the divine and with my cancer. I asked both of them some of the same questions: what they wanted to say, what they wanted me to know and learn, what the biggest picture was. The first time I asked my cancer, "What do you want to say?" the response was, "Rrr." Oh, right. That's right. I'm sorry. I wasn't going to admit it, but I think I have to. This is my first time doing the PowerPoint. In many ways, my journey fit into 3 categories we celebrants know well: separation, transition, and incorporation. To me, the separation stage began with the diagnosis of invasive cancer. I felt I had separated from my previous cancer-free and basically very healthy life. I was entering a symbolic forest, a place of fear, testing, courage, growth, and change. When I received the news that I had cancer by phone, when I was home alone from someone I did not know, I literally felt like someone had plugged me into an electric outlet and turned the on switch. I needed some rebalancing therapy fast. So I turned to my first act of sustenance. I called a healing touch practitioner. She rearranged her schedule so that she could see me immediately. And in addition to healing touch, she helped me set healing intentions. That evening, I called my beloved sister Susan, who lives an hour away. As I live alone, I turn to her as my closest companion on my cancer journey. "Kitsky," she said, "we will get through this together." At home, I began placing my headphone earbuds on my breast, letting the music and chants flow into me while I rested. I took my CDs with me to just about everything and to my MRIs, and I listened to them over that heavy, clanging noise. I asked friends to send me DVDs that would invoke laughter. Dear ones gave me healing shawls and blankets, like this one. And I put it on, but I'm a little warm already. I would wrap myself in these, and I would feel wrapped in love and prayers. And of course, it's important to know you don't need to be given a healing shawl or a blanket. Selecting your own or with a friend can be a healing ritual, and that's something else we can think about. The transition stage was my period of intense research, reaching out to others, and treatment. During this stage, cancer wasn't only a journey, but often a full-time job. Because I was seeking what felt right for me, I went into intense research mode. I explored conventional, alternative, and complementary treatment options. This is often referred to as attending Cancer U, and I'll bet there's some other alumni in this group. There were multiple and often conflicting recommendations for every decision. Following a really insightful comment made by my sister, I realized I needed a reframing ritual to release my deep mistrust of conventional medicine. So before each appointment, I breathed in divine love, breathed out fear, and reminded myself that everyone I met did want the best for me, regardless of their bedside manner or their recommendation. And again, this was a form of a ritual for me. Afterwards, I really felt as if I had thawed a lot of the heavy suspicion within me. And an open heart, even with a dose of healthy skepticism, is so much lighter. It was during this transition stage that cancer taught me to grow beyond my overly strong desire for privacy, to reach out beyond my most intimate circle and to ask for and receive help. These steps also involved taking risks. I had to move through my fear that help would not be forthcoming, or that needing so much help denotes some kind of weakness or failure. An example. I called the pastoral counselor at my synagogue and told her about my diagnosis. When I was ready, she set up this wonderful website for me called Kit's Caring Community, which is on the Helping Hands website. This will be on the resource sheet. These are wonderful resources for people to know about. The site matched my needs with synagogue volunteers who wanted to help provide food, rides, take notes for me at medical appointments, and even help with the avalanche of health insurance paperwork. It was really loving kindness in action. Another example, and again as celebrants, this is a wonderful website to know about. A dear friend established a site for me with Caring Bridge. This enabled me to communicate with everyone through one central site, instead of having to send and respond to a lot of emails, which can be very fatiguing. The Caring Bridge site also served many practical purposes. When I wanted an opportunity to connect with all my dear ones who were geographically very spread apart, I asked a friend to create and lead healing meditations and visualizations for me via conference call. And again, to lead some sort of healing visualization or meditation this way is something that we celebrants can so help with people to do. All the times and dates were posted on my Caring Bridge page, and so people called in from all over the country to participate in those. And if I had had Skype at that time, it would have been just an international love call. And when it came time for my surgery, I used my site to request also that dear ones hold a very specific visualization for me and my medical team. And the post included the times to do that as well. So asking for and receiving help is something that's difficult for a lot of people. And it's something that we as celebrants can really be the one to help people take this step. So for me, even taking care of legal acts became a sacred and a gift to loved ones. I set an intention, I opened the ritual space, and then I created a legal medical directive, power of attorney, and updated my will. And after I got the documents notarized, I said a prayer, returned home, and closed the space. So even things like this, and to make this a sacred journey, you don't have to be faced with cancer. You can just do this as something that's important to do in our life. On the day of my surgery, my Healing Touch practitioner met me in the hospital chapel. I want to empower people to know that you can at least ask or try or bring people with you to support you. They might not be allowed in the OR. You can always ask, but they can meet you in the chapel. They can sometimes come to your room, whatever. I really want to empower people around this. So in the chapel, I said a prayer. She enfolded me in the energy of her healing hands. She also came to my home after my surgery. And it was also during that surgery that I knew dear ones were holding me in that visualization. Again, these are all things that we as celebrants can help people initiate if they want to. Even the surgery itself was an opportunity for acts of sustenance. During my pre-surgery appointment with my surgeon, I spoke very briefly with him about a few of the ways I wanted to be supported during the surgery. And he was a man of very few words, but he seemed kind of receptive. So, on the day of my surgery, I accessorized my hospital gown by pinning a large piece of paper with requests for what to say and what not to say during surgery, and when to turn on the music that, of course, I had brought with me. And the last thing I remember before succumbing to the anesthesia was connecting with the divine. And when I awoke in the recovery room, the requested music was playing in my ears. I immediately said one of my favorite prayers, the Shechekianu prayer. In translation, and it fits for me even saying it now, "Blessed art thou, our Lord, our God, creator of the universe, who has kept us, sustained us, and brought us to this moment. When we came home from the hospital, my sister took all the cards I had received and she strung them in garlands around my apartment. Again, these are ideas that we can use too. I was fortunate. I did not need chemotherapy, nor was it recommended to me, so fortunately I didn't have to go through whether or not I was going to do it. But many women who do need or choose chemotherapy, they have a pre-chemo ritual that includes gathering friends and shaving their hair during that ritual. And again, there's so many ways we as celebrants can support people during the treatment phase. So a few days after my surgery, I found myself back in intensive research mode. I had a big decision to make, whether or not to do radiation therapy. My surgeon and oncologist all assumed I would do the radiation. It was standard protocol. To me, radiation therapy was scary, but more importantly, I never assumed I would do any particular treatment until I believed it was right for me. I chose to do radiation, and my choice felt mythic, a call to enter, encounter, and go through my fear in the service of healing. My sister named the treatments Kit's Radiance Therapy, and I felt empowered as I entered that treatment. And I decided to make that treatment into a ritual. On the first day of my radiation therapy, RT, I brought a plant to give as a gift to the Radiation Therapy Center. It was a patient-focused treatment center that even had an outdoor meditation garden. My healing touch practitioner came with me that day to do Reiki, but also because the wonderful oncologist I was working with had mentioned in passing that she was thinking about maybe having complementary practitioners in some way associated with the Radiation Therapy Center. And so by bringing Marion, I felt that introducing them, I was planting seeds for future patients, that this might be there for them. It was also on that day that I received my tiny radiation therapy tattoos. And with the way tattoos are so popular right now, I get a big kick out of knowing I have these tattoos, and through them I feel connected to anyone who has had radiation therapy and received tattoos. Okay. And just imagine a community flash mob where we can all flash our tattoos. So, my therapy, 5 days a week for 6 weeks, began in the winter with snow like frosting on bare branches in the meditation garden. And I would finish as the buds came out, and each day I took a photograph of the meditation garden. My photograph's a personal metaphor. I also did something each day in my private changing room where I connected with my inner healing team, so that was another one. And then, to express my appreciation to each member of my RT team, I designed personalized cards that had a nature image, a quote on gratitude that fit each one of them, and a personal message. And on my last day, I gave this with a little individual treasure box to each member of my RT team. I entered the incorporation stage when I finished treatment, intensive treatment, 9 months after my diagnosis, and was confirmed as cancer-free. Yay! So, during this time, I wrote lots of thank you notes, made donations, and I also did those as an act of ritual with candles, holding the person or organization in my mind, connecting heart to heart, and mailing everything with love. When I finished treatment, I participated in several comforting Jewish rituals. I stood before my congregational community and recited the prayer for one who has recently escaped danger. And I immersed myself in the purifying waters of the mikveh bath. The support of my synagogue community was stupendous. And as a way of giving back, because they ask people to share about personal journeys, but very few people do want to get up and share. But I thought what I could do is speak about what it meant to be the one asking for and receiving help, because so much is spoken about giving help. So I did give that talk at my synagogue. 2 weeks after I finished therapy, radiation therapy, I went on an extended silent retreat, and then I took a love tour to visit family and friends who were distant. During my dialoguing with cancer, it was made clear that I needed to be more proactive in expressing artistic creativity. I began some soul collaging, I joined a writing group, and I've returned to writing and performing my original stories. A year after I finished cancer treatment, a friend who had also had cancer urged me to do a releasing ritual. Like many people who've had cancer, I had piles of folders, books, CDs, cards, all these things. And so it began to start with releasing them. So we set the intention to release, open the sacred space, divided things into 4 categories: trash, give away, put in my storage unit, or keep in my apartment. The materials of each category were thanked. Everything to be given away was blessed for the receiver. Sacred things that I wasn't keeping or giving away, such as the cards, photos, were burned. Things that I kept that I felt could help me serve others were dedicated to service. And whatever else I kept was put away with the intention to continue releasing. At the end of this ritual, I said again the Shechekianu prayer, and we close the space. So one of the gifts I have brought back from my time in the metaphorical forest is my commitment to being open to sharing my journey with others. So thanks to the beautiful Charlotte and to all of you, my celebrant community, for giving me the opportunity to do so.